Welcome to real life, I say to myself, in the echoing Airbnb for this emergency broadcast. When I saw this work, that's exactly what I said to myself. This is an emergency broadcast I have to do. Welcome back, Artist Journal, March 31st, 2025, broadcasting from Florence, Italy. Deep in where so much of it took place, my name is Adrian Pocobelli. Try not to shout too loud here. As usual on the road, you don't want to annoy all the neighbors here. So welcome back and check out this work. It's going to be a shorter show, I think, but there were unbelievably stunning works. This was, I had my eye on this and I thought I wasn't sure if other people had their eye on this, and I thought maybe I could sneak in at the auction with 10 minutes to go. And then I saw there was like 4 other people, at least, who are thinking the same thing. So this is Martin Bruce with what feels like a revolutionary work. Of course, if you follow this show, you'll be familiar with Martin Bruce's work. I look at it pretty regularly the last 2 weeks. He seems to be releasing work every day, sometimes twice a day. And it's all selling for pretty good money. I mean, $125 US when you're doing that once or twice a day is not bad at all. And it's all selling. And it's going somewhere. So it's quite interesting if you look at this work, because we're kind of getting a little bit of pixel art here, seemingly, at least pixelation. And it's kind of back to this like mystery of how on earth did Martin Bruce get from point A to point B. That's one part of it. So just the how, and you could start to have your theories here. Maybe manually created the interior of this car with some sort of pixel art software. Maybe it's a filter, as you see over here in almost the reflection on the dashboard here. That doesn't look like pixel art. So you're kind of left wondering how this was made. So that's one aspect of it. And then the second aspect of it is the work itself. If you've been following the worm works, you see the worm is breaking the windshield here. And so then there's the actual work and the surprise of the work, the urgency of the breaking windshield here of this worm that is even splitting apart here, if you can see that. You see we're seeing, in a sense, what we're seeing is the worm. I don't want to use the word deconstructed, but you're seeing the element, the brush, really, that is being used here to create the worm in repetition, seemingly. And then we're seeing it in its kind of raw element here. One kind of, revolutionary, oval, spherical, light and dark, chiaroscuro sort of brushwork here. Scratch that one from the record. This is an emergency broadcast, my friends. So here we see it breaking the windshield, and again, the drama, and wonderfully, unpredictably, we have the almost pixelated, seemingly, broken windshield here, looking like it's being done manually. It all comes together, and there's also a couple other things I want to mention here. I mean, for me, there is like a vague echo of when you see something like this, you do think of Crash by Ballard here, which is also kind of interesting. I mean, it seems like or at least, if you even want to go to the visual arts, which is what I think inspired Crash by Ballard. You think of Warhol's disaster works of the car crashes. Pretty sure that inspired Crash. Of course, Ballard is surrealist, but, there's a certain vein of, I'd say, an intellectual strand of thinking that sees pop art as an extension of surrealism. And I share that. I'm very much within, and I think and how, why are they connected? I think the I think the intellectual justification for that, finally, is with surrealism, we have kind of an exploration of inner space, or of the latent, what sometimes gets called in AI, the latent space. But of the unconscious, right? And of dreams, the exploration of, in a sense, the inner world, of inner space. Whereas, and the psychologizing, so to speak, the Freudianization of the subject, and taking these elements of the external world that we process in dreams and that kind of get juxtaposed, hard, bizarre juxtapositions. Is this, giving us a key somehow to ourselves and to our world? And if once with that kind of a key, can we then kind of go back to the external world and treat it, as Ballard, boiled down Dali into 2 words, maybe 3, a solidified dream? Does this provide a key of sorts to our reality? Hence, one could argue surreality. And in the pop art phase, not to get too far from Martin Bruce here, out of Portugal, but maybe Chilean, I believe, is what I saw on Instagram on a show he's having. And then, of course, the mass media, though, it's an examination, so to speak, rather than of one's own unconscious, of the mass psychology, of the popular psyche, so to speak. And in that regard, and you could argue the mass media, it started, when did the mass media start? We can go back to pamphleteering and even before, back to Gutenberg, and I'm sure even before Gutenberg, people wrote stuff down, and there's, the public square. But we could say post-World War II, particularly with the advent of television and then color television, and where the media, as Ballard called it, the media landscape took form and are kind of, as you get to these notions of hyper-reality and simulation and this kind of narrative and how, in a sense, politics, and from a meta perspective, change as a result. Where there's Kennedy, right? Not to get too far from Martin Bruce here. But this is what this evokes in me. I can't help but read here this kind of tradition of cars. And unfortunately here, and disaster cars, right? And that there is a disaster going on here of a certain kind, maybe of a more playful kind. But the windshield is breaking. So it is kind of, it does kind of visually say crash. Finally, just on a technical level, the color here. Masterfully, we have a bright blue here, small, providing contrast with the rest of this almost black and white work with a little bit of color here, but mostly almost monochromatic, but of course a little bit of color here and there in the worm and whatnot. So anyways, beautiful work here. Let me show you the auction. Again, I thought I could sneak in with 10 minutes left, but there were at least 4 other people, or at least 3 other people were thinking the same thing. And all of a sudden I saw the second bid come in at 186, and then 200, went all the way for $236. And when you're releasing works once or twice a day, it's a pretty good price. It's a pretty good living if you're able to continue that. Anyways, released one more the next day. That's at 170 Tezos. And here it is. So another car work. And we see a similar setup compositionally. And with this, I don't know what this is. It almost has a waffles feel to it, this little piece here. And a cat in the rearview mirror. So a bit of a different work here. And looking like a Martin Bruce painting of mountains in the windshield. Seemingly a car. But almost like an old race car or something, or whatever this is. Is this Martin Bruce building a car? So very unpredictable and exciting, dramatic content. And you don't know how it's made, I would argue. You can speculate, but unique in its styling and cryptic as well. What was the title on that? Let's just check very quickly. On My Way. And the first one, Worm Crush. So just kind of so interesting. So coming up today in a few hours, in an hour and 20 minutes, Elbi's show, which has gotten really, look at this ad that Elbi put together. I'm very happy with just how this is all rolling out. It's all kind of come together beautifully. In the end here, my first one of one gallery. So wow, this brilliant title that Elbi came up with. WW Wow. Awesome. So this is coming up. Got a really nice response here. And here it is in the Pocobelli gallery. So we have our first show here. So super exciting. And let me bring it up. So Wow by Elbi, and mini kind of press release here. We don't need to do much more than 2 paragraphs, I think. And here are the works. Let me show you something, because we put them in order, but I was thinking we could rearrange them, but you can't. In a sense, the show should be viewed like this. So I kind of wanted to get that on the record here. This is how the show should be viewed. So just so you know, and what's kind of cool, we can kind of go through it here very quickly. And I have great internet here in Florence. Love this work. So again, technically made with the mouse that you get with SNES. And then there's the Game Boy printer, which we'll see the desktop here. Do a barrel roll. Incorporating some analog video glitch as a final kind of layer here. And generally I don't like swearing, but these are just such rich works, very fun works here, as you can see. So just super thrilled with how this all played out and turned out. Elbi did an awesome job here. This one, someone said this is called Julia. Someone said this is my favorite, which I thought was hilarious. And I love this little kind of animal at the bottom. It's just an awesome show. And then we have some glitch ROMs to complement the works here, and they're beautiful works here. So just did a spectacular job here. So happy with how this all played out here. And here is another one, and kind of more minimal, kind of feels like a color field painting. And here's another quick run through the show here. Love that piece, and a couple more here. So lots of fun, lots to bid on there. That is on Object, the Pocobelli Gallery. We'll be tweeting that out, tweet out a couple more works here right before it starts. And this is Elbi too, like brilliant. Brilliant. Nice presentation that Object has with the play button there. And there's Elbi, get your ticket. Amazing. So just thrilled with this first show. And again, this is how it should be seen. So maybe I put the next show in reverse order, because that was kind of important. Continuing on. So lots to get through here today in just a short amount of time. Let me just make sure I can see the time. Nice view count, by the way. 564 views for YouTube. It's pretty awesome. So let's see here. Kujip, also known as Hasdrubal Waffle, thank you as always. Have a fun vacation, and wishing you a relaxing spring break, Adrian. So thank you. I guess it is spring break. I am seeing a lot of students out here in Florence. Cowabunga, love it. So referring to the work by Hasdrubal Waffle here, who's commenting here, it was brilliant. Some beautiful, brilliant work by Waffles again. Bosque Gracias, we love you so much. You use a name in Spanish. Wish you a wonderful weekend. You're welcome. I am practicing my Spanish here with your help. Here's Heidi Thing, who I think is Rural Idol. In my experience as an animator and as an artist, I am ambivalent about language learning models presented as original art. It's a moral no-brainer for every animator, illustrator, musician, DJ, and commercial artist I know. These are the people being affected by the current shift in real time. It's a shift that's as much about what humans we value culturally as it is in terms of savings to speed or efficiency. It won't be Kevin, Sasha, Claire Silver, or assorted mid-career auction house artists doing seemingly well out of scraped AI. In terms of Ghibli Day specifically, it felt close to a kind of revenge for me, a power move at such a scale on the part of OpenAI, and nauseates me to see it adopted so readily as some fun thing we should do today. I do think, as I was mentioning last episode, I do think there was a cynicism in what they did. Interestingly, I respect and what I mean by that, for those that didn't see the show, it's almost like by getting everybody to do it, everybody is participating, and it's normalizing this notion of cannibalizing an artist's style. And again, I think it's still an open question and a very tough issue because the technology is going to push forward. And as we saw with sampling, it is hard to just say it shouldn't be done, I would argue. I respect the artists in our community who are harnessing and pushing these tools into innovative new directions, but a big tech meme day trained on 5 decades of human craft almost negates everything we are doing. Having a foot in animation, a foot in art, and my hands in dance music and re-edits, the anthology to sampling and remix culture does resonate with me. Something I will say after 30 years of buying records is that I can hear immediately when something is re-edited or remixed or reimagined with love and soul, and when it's used with cynicism to make a few easy bucks. You realize very quickly who the hacks are, given the sheer ubiquity of these paradigm shifts and the money and power that's forcing them through on all fronts, from email to art to how we organize our calendars. I don't know if future generations will have such a luxury. Right, because they'll just be kind of born into this. And here, for anyone interested, you can check this link by Moon Valley. Peace out, Rural. So I think that's Rural Idol. Thank you for the comment, thoughtful comment. And it's, as I called the last YouTube video, the thorny debate around AI, as I mentioned last show. Say hi to Mom, Canuck Zapata. I will. Looking forward to seeing Mom, I guess on Wednesday when I take the train to Rome. Ed Marola. About the AI moral debate, it means the famous death of the author, in a sense very contemporary, following Warhol's path. The whole world is content, and the artist samples wherever building layers or whatever building layers of intellectual property. Then the moral thing becomes a matter of who will be able to prove their work has been sampled and earn a fair share of the profits. Indeed, and it was kind of an interesting thing, like Warhol, I don't know if it's the Warhol estate, but there was one of the people who had taken photographs that Warhol had used, won an intellectual property debate. That was, I think, last year, interestingly, and it felt there was kind of a concern that fair use was under attack. So you see, it's almost not a new debate, but I think it's exponentialized, though. Like, it's become way more intense, we could argue. Rada. Beautiful works, my friend. Keep up the good fight. You're welcome. Thank you. And indeed. So let's just look at the comments here. Nice response last show there. Let's look. Rosacio, enjoy your trip. About El Crego's post, I'm trying to do a quick emergency broadcast here. I have some comments on that. I'm not vibing with artists who suddenly shift their subject matter to crypto related. But Crego dismissing or shaming them for it feels worse. Right, so this was the notion that some people may have changed their style in order to adopt crypto thematics, so to speak, or subject matter in order to sell better. You know, I kind of think, like, when I got on Super Rare, I mean, to me, I saw the whole bull market. I could tell it was historic. I mean, it was just so big. It felt historic. And so I did some screenshots of, say, Binance and whatever, because I'd been doing screenshots before. That was kind of my kind of way in, or of, US, I think one was called Tether charts. That was kind of my kind of celebration of it. So in a sense, what I'm trying to say is, and I still kind of stand behind those works, I think they're still legit. But I think some people may have, there are different kinds of compromising that people may have done to, I don't know how much people left their work behind. So we're generalizing is kind of what I'm saying here. Artists navigate different spaces for different reasons, financial, experimental, or simply because they want to. This is so true. Artists make work for different reasons. Dismissing their choices as losing themselves feels more like imposing personal ideas than understanding artistic evolution. Art isn't a fixed purity test. But I think I understand what El Crego was saying, though, because I thought I suspect there are people that kind of, I'd say my response would be, let's be real. There were certain people, I'm sure, that were just kind of going all in on the money and just doing whatever. I mean, we still kind of see sometimes, but almost like AI bots. So I wouldn't be, we're generalizing in a sense too much here, maybe on El Crego's side and here. Right? But I take his point. The way Crego uses infected makes it sound like engaging with memes and money symbols is some kind of disease. I think he was talking about the people who changed, though, which is pretty harsh and unnecessary way to frame it. On a side note, Warhol used money symbols in his art. Does that mean he lost himself too? No, like I used that money symbol that Warhol did as a beautiful example of ambiguity, political ambiguity in art. Is it a criticism of capitalism, the dollar sign? Is it a celebration? It's ambiguous. And really it's Warhol doing what Warhol does, which is almost like a scientist saying, oh, this is a popular icon. I'm going to make a work out of it. And it was almost that surface with Warhol. And then it provides a kind of like, here's a way, I'm going to artify it. And then we're going to have some distance and to look at what do we think of this, right? I think that's how Warhol was treating it. I'm open for discussion. This is my old work, way before I mentioned anything on the blockchain using money symbol. Yeah, I don't think he's saying everybody who ever used money symbols is, a hack. Cash rules everything around me, analog collage and pencil on paper. But I appreciate the comment and cool work. Nice collage. Rosacho working way back 2017, making this beautiful work. Art Change, thanks for the episode, Adrian. A very interesting watch, speech, and perspective. Thank you. Federico, love the Ghibli Gate discussion. So yeah, thank you for the wonderful response here. Pedro Jose, thank you for the comment. Andrea Balestrero, thanks for another great episode. AI is a controversial and multifaceted topic. As an artist, I find it's more interesting for its errors, we were discussing this, and imperfections than for its ever-growing proficiency. But also as a designer, I'm an architect, I could find it more useful, like a different point of viewing and solving problems, quite the opposite of mainstream thought and the goals of the industry, but I don't want to enter in critic of capitalism mode now. When in Florence, go to this restaurant. It's close to Santa Maria Novella. It used to be excellent. I will give that, I met August Ground here. That was hilarious yesterday, and we had a great time. We just kind of drank wine and ate for about 8 hours. That was wonderful. June Redthread, thank you for the comment. GM, Deepest Well, thank you for the good wishes. And Ilay, love every episode and hope you feel better soon. And enjoying the Primavera Digitale Festival and your time with Mom. So after this, I'll run out the door and go to the festival. They have a little event going on right now. But I kind of wanted to put out this show. There was just too much that was being discussed and that was said. And too many amazing works, as you're going to see. Absurdity, enjoy your travels, Adrian. What a wonderful opportunity you will have to travel with your mother. So I can't read all this today. But I want to, though. I do not understand or appreciate Cryptoart, yet I cannot get enough art on the blockchain. I mean, it was a real breakthrough. I think that I came through here. I mean, there was two big discussions last show. There was the AI debate and the Ghibli Gate discussion, so to speak. To me, this was an even bigger discussion, which was intellectually separating crypto art from art on the blockchain. And to me, this was like, because it's not just me adding, okay, I'm going to do this intellectually and it not being real. It feels like it's an insight. Actually, it's adding clarity to actually reality. That's why it's so powerful for me. And what is the insight from last couple of shows is crypto art is art that the crypto community has celebrated ultimately. And oftentimes, by virtue of it being the crypto community, it uses things like Ethereum symbols, and all of, Pepe and whatever it is, and it'll even adopt certain kinds of artists that kind of speak to that culture. But that, as Absurdity saying, doesn't have and I kind of share this to a certain degree. I mean, there is overlap. We were discussing this with Uxine. I love Uxine's work, and I've shown it for 2 years here, probably longer, almost everything. So there is overlap here, I would say. But to Absurdity's point, I'm not generally even interested. It's not like I've never opened the only online. They showed some screenshots of the Taschen book on NFTs. And so I don't even we're back to the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Not only am I not interested, but when I say I'm doing a show about art on the blockchain for YouTube to artist friends, I don't even want them to think that. And so it's kind of like my new answer I was discussing this with August Ground yesterday, who is great to hang out with. My new answer is like, are you doing like, is that like crypto art? It's like, no. Is that like NFTs? And I almost want to say no, like it's almost like on a cultural level, no. On a technical level, yeah, they're NFTs, they're non-fungible tokens. But on a cultural level, what most people understand as NFTs, like that's not what I'm up to over here. Which I think is, yeah, so this is a point of clarity here. And I think, it looks like absurdity is also sympathizing. Let's see what he says. From a lexicological perspective, the terms are accurately descriptive, with crypto taking on the emphasis in Cryptoart, whereas art in the emphasis of art on the blockchain. And it's sort of like, again, that magazine we saw that my librarian friend sent to me, Espace, where it had blockchain. And it looked like it had nothing to do with crypto, at least on the cover. And so they do feel like different things, just artists who use this technology. Let's continue. Ultimately, with crypto art, the art is secondary to and acts as a placeholder for status or inclusion in a community. Yeah, and I wouldn't say that's true. Again, we're overgeneralizing here. So I don't think that's universally true, but I think there are other things that come into play. Like we see it with Taproot Wizards, which I'm going to show you the collection. And you're going, well, is this really about the art, or is this about some other mechanics that is involved here? And again, it's for me, it's so much easier now to process all this because it's like, that's just a different thing with, say, the Taproot Wizards, or that I'm concerned with. I'm an artist that uses the blockchain, and I'll use many blockchains, and I'm not overly concerned with crypto culture. It may bleed in now and then. As someone that, a lot of the work is thinking about the popular psyche, so to speak. So we're, mass subjectivity. So if all of a sudden in 2021, crypto's the main thing on everybody's mind and it's this revolution, okay, it will bleed into the art. But generally speaking, it's not my prime concern. It's even like it's not even a tertiary concern. Let's continue. Yes, there are exceptions with some early artists who will forever be associated with the foundation of NFTs. However, with rare exception, almost all PFP projects are lacking in artistic merit, in my humble opinion, yet have valuations well beyond the majority of great art on the blockchain. So clearly it's not the art that is driving the value. So this is a generality, but I think directionally I kind of agree. Or at least, you wonder, like, how is this worth that? And again, I was discussing last episode how the blockchain, or how crypto, let's call it, there's so much money in crypto. And then so what the crypto culture is going to like, you're sort of going to get all these crazy valuations, but it's not necessarily, put it this way, it's not the final word on art on the blockchain. In fact, you could argue it's this area where it's just kind of a crypto-centric area the foundation is crypto culture. And it's that culture's, that subculture's, so to speak. I mean, it's become almost, you could argue it's mainstream now with the White House on board. But, with that culture's, what they would like for art. But it's not the entire story, far from it, right? It's like, it's over here, right? And so I think the museums and institutions haven't figured this out. And so they just go digital art, crypto art, is this all synonymous? In a sense, many of us were kind of thinking that, at least for me, until I knew there was a difference, but I feel like it's been kind of clarified. So why is art on the blockchain struggling to be recognized by the in real life zeitgeist? I mean, I don't think this distinction is really, like, again, I'm not sure how clear. We're only making it here on episode 414, I think. I would argue it is precisely because it is intended to be art. In my limited knowledge of art history, I cannot think of one example of any artist or art movement that did not involve a period of obscurity and struggle before achieving first collector and later cultural zeitgeist recognition. This period often spanned decades, so given the art on the blockchain is only a few years in its infancy, it's far too early to expect Taschen or other cultural curators to recognize the significance of this movement. Indeed, it is a real-time art movement. We see that with, say, Martin Bruce and some of the works we're going to see here. And yes, you'll have to do this regarding the Creating the Art History videos and other like even literary stuff. Looking forward to pulling out my digital wallet to support and subscribe. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Interesting comment. Al Crago, great to hear from you. Mirakit, who we started the show with. So this is, of course, Mirakit's beautiful work right here. Let's quickly take a look here. Thank you so much for sharing Leopard IA, or IA. I'm glad to share with you part of my process. The term IA is absolutely Intelligencia Artificial. I love training my models on exactly AI, which I haven't heard of. Super friendly interface, which lets you do image training. Fascinating. I will try and remember that for myself. Love that Mirakit art. Kanik Zapata, Zani Yagar, thank you. Estelle Flores. Hi Poco, ZX Spectrum is an 80s microcomputer. So Flora, from 2 shows ago, is making her work on a 80s microcomputer. Incredible. Thanks for the shout out in the new episode about the debate on Cryptoart being about relation of art with crypto market. I think this is somewhat common on all types of art. The work is about seeing and commenting on the context. My work is not about crypto at all, but I keep finding myself commenting on it. It's impossible not to. Yeah, it is part of the culture. So, and I think this adds also to the clarity, which is it's not a clear separation, you might say, between art on the blockchain and crypto art. To a certain degree, it's a spectrum of sorts, but I think there's kind of like a nice blurry line in the middle and some overlap, almost like a Venn diagram. But some things we can think of, like put it this way, when you look at Martin Bruce, I don't think of that as crypto art, that's art on the blockchain. Most of the works I would argue that I show here is mostly, although there's going to be some overlap, is art on the, because again, I wouldn't even make a show about most crypto art, just to be genuine about it. And that's not against that. It's just not my interest. It's not saying anything. It's not a judgment call. It's just, So it's interesting. Thank you everybody for the comments. Nikki Rorschach. I'm a canvas artist. I use large paper. I work with my hands. Then I take pictures of this and use it to show my form of art. During one of these videos, which you should go and watch, he defined the difference. Oh, speaking of myself here, Pocobelli defined the difference between Web3 art culture and artists that put their art on the blockchain. I actually found myself discovering this aspect. I use physical ink and pastel. I do this on purpose. I create this after image on the blockchain. And this definition has made it all make sense. That feeling of not belonging rather than being enforced makes me understand where I belong, which is as an independent artist using the technology in my own innovative way. Take a physical, use it as a way to show the work and expand the utility of my proof of work. As an artist, it's incredibly important to understand how you can apply your mediums and where you stand within that. Go watch this, very eye-opening. I'm glad that this is resonating. I was so glad to hear this comment. That was on Friday, a few hours after the show came out. And I was just so pleased to hear that this is resonating. Because I do feel, as I said to August yesterday, some of the most obvious things are the hardest to understand, as many of us know. Anyways, let's continue. Al Crago, thanks Pocobelli. Great to hear from you. It seems some clearly see the difference and that both can cohabit. And I think talking about art on the blockchain let's see what it says here. Sad to know since long ago that if we didn't kneel in front of monoliths, we're expelled of a culture we caused. Without prior online digital art, crypto art would never have existed. Right, so it's interesting. And this is an example of how money obscures the reality. Money is obscuring the reality, in a sense, the history of digital art. And it's interesting. Then you'll talk to, I remember asking Wolf Lieser at the Digital Art Museum in Berlin at a show that he was, I'm trying to let me go to another tab here. I was, Wolf Lieser, and he didn't do anything with NFTs because he probably thought, as most people do, the association is that's not my thing. And so, in a sense, but knowing that it's kind of a technology that's important. So someone like Wolf Lieser at the Digital Art Museum in Berlin, so I think this is helpful for him, this distinction, because then someone like him can go, okay, there's art on the blockchain, then there's the crypto cultures, whatever they love. And so he can start, as was being discussed here, he can start to know where to place himself, say, as a museum or collector of sorts, curator. Justin Tribble, I'm not ashamed to be known as the NFT guy when people meet me in real life. Most of them actually find it pretty fascinating. Even deep in a bear, it's not very authentic to deny who you are. So for me, because I guess there is, I'm not sure if this is probably referencing, there is some discussion of people saying NFTs, including myself, who cares about the term? So the reason why I want to distance myself from NFTs is because I almost want to distance myself from Cryptoart. And it's not anything strong, it's just to be like, as an accuracy thing. So that's why I prefer, and yes, if we, on a technical level, that's when I'll say NFT, but on a cultural level, like, it's art on the blockchain for me. And so, and to me, that's being true to who I am. That's accurate for me, because I am not, I run in the opposite direction of most of these PFPs, as we're going to see here. Here we have Taproot Wizards, and we're seeing, thank you, Sanzo, for posting this. Timing is, so now there's the justifications are being made for this collection that I'm about to show you being worth $80,000 a photo, an image. Timing is everything. If they launched in the ordinals mania, these would be trading for 1 Bitcoin. And they sold, I think, at mint or whatever for 0.2. So what is that? $15,000. They priced the mint very close to what they would have the forward market value would be. In other words, they captured all the initial margin. Ideal, no, but I still like this collection. And Udi is literally the only Bitcoiner I'm excited to bet on in the ordinal ecosystem. Aside from wizards and cats, the only ordinals I want are puppets and node monkeys. Sentiment changes fast. I'll buy more of these if it dips lower. And so this is the work that is worth, that this person is saying should be, in a mania, would be worth $80,000, but is only worth $14,000. So, I mean, maybe is saying there's value here. So I just don't, to Absurdeity's point here, nothing against the artist, but, it's just not my thing. It's just not my thing. And no, I don't think I think it's worth about $30. The mint price, to put it on chain probably costs you about $3. This is maybe worth 10x. So at $30 is how I'd value this. So I guess we'll see. History will say. Sonzo, highly sought after, is doing a lot of work here. So referring to the Raoul Pal quote of digital art and highly sought after digital artworks being the most valuable things. I don't disagree with this sentiment, but I think in 2034, I think he was saying. But I think many people think that we considered to be highly sought after now will be highly sought after in 2034. And so basically saying what we think is going to be valuable now may not be what's valuable in 2034. For a very small subset of things, you can make the case. For most, you can't. For most, you can't. And I think a good point. And I think time will have its way with, say, Taproot Wizards. So I say, and people can disagree with me. And many of these, Bored Ape Yacht Club in 2034, is that going to be worth anything? Who knows? And I'm not even sure I care. Although I will be, I guess I would. I guess I'd be curious. Ed Woods, the overwhelming majority of altcoins have nothing to them at all. Let's face it, Tezos has something that no other coin has, an amazing and constantly innovating art scene. And it's kind of true. It actually gives real value to the coin, and how many coins can actually say that they have real value? I'm sure many of them would try, but anyways, I don't want to be too critical on crypto here. Salty Gorilla, as AI becomes more intuitive, traditional artists have to adapt. The top 5% will be fine. There's still need for the original inspirations, and enthusiasts will always appreciate original human creations more. Everyone else needs to learn AI if you want to pursue artist's career. I think it's sort of it's kind of like learning Photoshop and digital. If you want to be a digital artist, you have to learn the softwares and the tools. You should be familiar with it. And look at what people are doing. We're going to see some more examples here today. I thought this was hilarious by Momo. Almost a Zen-like statement, I believe out of Japan. I consider image generation AI to be a rival, so I look at the output from time to time. But I somehow feel like I'm still better than it, so that's good. Love that Zen philosophical statement from Momo. Batsup, this is the best thing to ever happen to Studio Ghibli. quote unquote. If you understand that, then you understand the world we're about to live in. So interesting take here. In a sense, saying because they became world famous overnight, and you could say they already were famous, but if you asked me, who pays attention to the thing and saw Princess Mononoke, whatever the title is, but I saw that in the theater way back when. I didn't know Studio Ghibli did that or that they even exist, right? So it's an interesting debate. Here we have some Hermipe dice. How cool is that? So Hermipe continuing to explore different mediums here. And here is Myth with a beautiful mask. As you see here, papier mâché now painting it. It's beautiful. Myth Studios. How cool is that? Retroman helmet built stage 1. So hard to see if this kind of almost looks like augmented reality. So I'm not sure if this is the physical, but it kind of looks like it, doesn't it? So very cool there. As we go into the works, I picked up this work here, 230 Tezos. So not a cheap work here, but I couldn't help it. This beautiful work. As August Ground said, it looks like a Ferdinand Léger, and that's exactly how I was thinking too. It just looks like a modern art piece, and that's in the title. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous work here from Zozo, taking art somewhere. Spring dawn on the south bank of the river. Very cool, landscape here. I guess this is after a certain artist. Let me just check here. De Guanzilan is a homage here. Beautiful landscape. Here's Canik Zapata with a long title here. So I'm just going to look at the works. Beautiful textures here. So I think a collector on a computer here. So just more gorgeous works here. Checking object, almost looking like a vinyl collector. So again, just more beautiful work here from Canik Zapata's AI and Python. So to that earlier commenter's point, I think was it Sonso or someone else? Learning AI, yeah, you should at least, you don't have to love it or even use it, but you should be familiar with it, I would argue. And I think you can do it, again, I would say morally, if you take your own work and blend it, I don't think that's hurting anybody, right? So I'm not sure you can use the moral argument to not do it, is what I would say. Canik Zapata again, another beautiful, beautiful, beautiful canvas here. Masterpiece Theater, my friends. Let's continue. Yuri J, Morning Food. So some gorgeous, it almost looks like some sort of experimental Italian soup with like cheese or mozzarella in it. Beautiful textures here from Yuri J. Once again, what is this called? Morning Food. Maybe it's cereal. I don't know. It's beautiful. Already sold out. Already 67 now. The other one, 76. Anytime Food. So almost not even being able to recognize, almost maybe a steak in a frying pan. This is on the Yuri JJJ account, which is sometimes a bit more experimental. Midday Food, edition of 1. And how much is this selling for? So more food here from Yuri J, 400 Tezos for a 1 of 1 by Yuri J. Here is Shepperton, flat.rad, so a bit of an abstract here. And good to see, cool kind of digital abstract there from Shepperton. Here's Fragments, a day. These are on chain, on Tezos from Cap'n, also known as Fragments. Just beautiful combination of colors here. 75 Tezos, 1 of 1, and another beautiful one. And Night, almost like a diptych. This is 75 Tezos 2. So again, on chain, edition of 1, 75 Tezos. I believe these are on chain. Double check that, but I'm pretty sure. Here are a couple of more from Cap'n, actually. Figments, modular board, but modular board. So this is an edition, I think, of 16 for 8 Tezos each, still available. About half gone. And here's another B, so the second version. So just more additions to these awesome series by Figments. Here is Mariana J.U. and just a cool video here. Cool animated abstract from Mariana J.U., who also uses kid pics. Not sure what's being used here, but just really original work. Here is Amelia Versace, who of course I follow. Beautiful abstract, interesting abstract here. This is posted on X, getting a nice response. Here's another abstract, Primitive RE, almost blotting out everything. There's a great Richard Prince show. I'm going to try and remember to bring it up next episode, which could be in a week, by the way. Let's see if we have to do another emergency broadcast here. Cash Shern. So this was cool. Again, is it art? Is it video games? Is it both? And I think it might be both. So it's almost, is it video? You know, it's kind of like very interesting test. Let's see where it goes. I believe out of Tokyo. Here's another one by Cashern. And these wonderful colors. The textures. These old screens. I mean, just awesome. Awesome, awesome work. Here's a cool one. Absurdity posting. This is Hiket 2000. Of course, I follow Absurdity. Pretty cool. Pretty sure this is AI artwork by Hiket 2000. Kind of looks like Stable Diffusion-esque. Here is Time, also known as Santiago, who of course I follow. Beautiful abstract here. Also, so here is Mumble Boy. This was hilarious. Work in progress. Can I finish in less than a week? As Ile say, it is finished maybe. Really cool. And I was like, I had the same thought. I was like, this is awesome. It just goes to show. So who knows? I mean, so I think Mumble Boy is going to think it over. I think it's a possibility, but I have to finish it to see my ideas through, even if it gets worse from here. It's hilarious, but it was very head-turning work. Very interesting how that can happen. Enigmatrix Watermelon. You know, it's good to get feedback, too, from people. Cool pesky, kind of like ASCII, pesky work here from Enigmatrix. Some food. Here's Scamra doing a cat. Very cool, kind of distorted AI, pixelated AI distorted background. Super textured cat. I mean, just exploring AI textures. Here's some more AI textures. This is Human Boy. Cool work here of sun in the window. Pretty nice piece. This is an open edition. One has been minted at 10 Tezos each. Very cool. Here's Sui Soichi with some cats. This is almost, it's almost like those cabinets. Solid visual evidence that snakes gave rise to cats and cats gave rise to humans on Darwin's hypocrisy. So cool conceptual piece here, playing with that cabinet, almost that 19th century cabinet sort of tradition. It's morning. More Japanese pixel art. This is Hisa with a nice, this is a still a work, so looks like some breakfast. Here's Kaneko wallpaper, looking gorgeous on the phone. There is the work by itself. Wild ratio there. And here's another one by Kaneko, a little bit of animation. So cool work there. Here's a few by Estelle Flores, Grim Reaper. So very fun. And again, using that old microcomputer software. Here's another one. This looks awesome. Kind of looks like a Paris Hilton type thing. Lola Bell, a really nice piece. 25 Tezos, very reasonable. Kai Leiko. And this is another gorgeous work here. I think they go together a little bit. These two, I don't know if they're celebs. This is Skitchism, which this is on, what platform is this? Salvor.io. I'm always concerned when you don't get the, I think this is on Avalanche, when you don't get the full screen, I'm always wondering why you don't get the full screen. So here, I brought it up here. So Skitchism on Avalanche, interestingly. So new platform there. Here is Katarina Create. Beautiful illustration, almost like a Monopoly board type frame. Love that. And I love the asymmetry of what's going on here, of the clothing. Cool work, PP the Angel, edition of 10 for 5 Tezos, 2 gone. Here is, it's getting actually remarkably aesthetically pleasing from No Hygiene, which I'm finding almost profoundly ironic, considering if you remember where this all started. This was very edgy, pushing, calling it was charitable. And I mean this in a nice way, pushing the frontiers of aesthetics. It was charitable to say, now it's getting like the colors are really coming together here. It's not just like stunningly weird. It's becoming beautiful. Speaking of beautiful, is this Peter the Roman? Posted by Von Doyle, who of course I follow, and Porcelain Dreams Bric-a-Brac. Another one of these, I think this is an AI sculpture. I think. Super beautiful. Like, what a sculpture. Die with the Most Likes, Nameless Dread Endures, so kind of nice, playing with watercolor and pen. Nice combination of two mediums here from Die with the Most Likes. Nice work. Here is HP Lovebucks. I painted this, so this came, I think this was in a protest recently. Can't even remember where Pikachu came out. I think it was in Turkey. And that is your show, my friends. Thank you for joining me. This emergency broadcast here from Florence. I was going to say from Florence, Berlin, from Florence, Italy. Probably maybe next week, I'm guessing, unless a whole bunch of more masterpieces come out. Thanks for the support. Until next time, take care.